This is a slideshow presentation for Disruptive Technology, entitled Disruptive Technology and Employment, created for BTTM 4160 by Mj Reid. So the purpose of this presentation is to discuss how technology may replace low-end jobs such as waiters or manufacturers, street cleaners, janitors, those types of positions. In a BBC article that I looked up that you can find in my references, it noted that the lines between man and machine are increasingly blurred, and this can be seen in all aspects of our lives. We have Siri on our iPhones who uses a human voice and can understand human speech. We have a Roomba that rolls around our apartments and homes, sweeping the floors for us. Because of things like these, out of 702 jobs that were analyzed during a certain study, half of them are at risk of being replaced by machines. And with the existing technology we have just today, a third of current jobs could be replaced. Not even in the future. This is today if businesses really decided they didn't want to deal with employees anymore. So there are 4 articles that I have listed in my references, and each of them has a different idea on exactly how machines are going to impact the workplace. I've divided the arguments into for and against, essentially. So the argument saying that technology will cut employment right back is one's from BBC that says the automating industry will replace the vast majority of positions. Bill Gates jumped in a different article saying that the technology revolution is in fact coming and the world's employees are not prepared to work with robots. Most people don't have the capacity and aren't thinking far enough ahead that they just might be replaced, and they don't know how they're going to deal with it. If anyone's been to the Toronto airport recently, you know what I mean, because there are iPads that you make your order on when you sit down anywhere, and all the restaurants in that area can bring your food right to your seat after you've made your order, tipped, and swiped your credit card on that little iPad. The waiters are essentially replaced. The other 2 articles that I found claim that new opportunities will arise to close the gaps. Town Hall Finance predicts that governments will force companies to switch to automation by increasing minimum wage. If the government doesn't increase minimum wage or make it harder for people to employ, then companies will have no motivation to do so. Rotman, in a different article, thinks that new positions will be created after a short period of widespread unemployment, similar to what happened after the Industrial Revolution. It's more of growing pains. Once we introduce robots on a large scale to the workplace, there's going to be a period of adjustment where people don't know how to fit in, don't know what to do. After that period, I'm sure, and this article claims that there will be widespread prosperity again. So there are some ethical questions involved in the automation of a workplace. Primarily, it's whose responsibility is it to ensure the masses are employed? Which, from a business perspective, how can that be anyone's job except the individual and the government? You can think of a business really as a psychopath. It has all of the legal responsibilities as a person, but it has no heart and no conscience. So knowing that going in, a government should be able to adapt to a primarily automated workplace. It's the same thing for the livelihood of the population. It's not the business's responsibility. The business's only responsibility is to provide services and products that people will buy and stay alive. Much like the psychopath or sociopath, the business is only concerned with itself. Everyone else has to figure out how to make everything work for them. So there are some risks to society naturally with an automated workplace, especially if nobody steps in and nobody sets any controls. So there's the loss of order that's going to come with large-scale poverty and extreme wealth disparity. Like the 99% rallies, for example. Are we already seeing the first steps of the loss of order? Riots, mass homelessness, these are all things that could happen if we switch to a primarily automated workplace. So there are some ways we can avoid the consequences, the negative consequences of an automated workplace. Individuals can seek higher education, particularly in industries less likely to be automated. Some of the articles cite things like nurses, post-secondary teachers, secondary teachers, Things like that should be able to, will need people because there's a big people aspect in those industries. Businesses, once again, I think businesses aren't responsible for the well-being of the individuals. Therefore, this isn't a business problem. There's nothing for the businesses to mitigate. The only thing they have to mitigate is the growing pains associated with turning into an automated workplace, like robot bugs and just things that don't work quite right, beta testing. And lastly, society can change government structure to mitigate risks associated with an automated workplace. Things like tax increases on business running primarily automated operations, encouraging low-level employment, increasing the availability of Social Security. And what that will do is essentially when someone loses their job, it'll make sure they don't lose their house and end up on the street. They can also encourage training for jobs in an automated workplace. This one I think is particularly important because people so far haven't responded well and haven't planned well, according to these articles, to a workplace that's becoming more and more automated. The government really needs to step in here and open people's eyes and show them what types of things are going to be useful to them in the future. They need to make a prediction and help people make smarter decisions at this point. So here's my list of resources. I have the 4 articles here. The BBC one is second on the list. I found the article, the